Hello, everyone. I'm the Red Dog. Bark, bark. Watch the 3 Count Podcast. Bark.
Must have knew that she raised one. All of your hate won't change.
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and as you can tell today, it's just me. It's just me. The team works for free 99, and apparently when you run out of hot dogs and you can't give handshakes, they don't want to show up to work. It is what it is, so I'm running solo, and that's how we do. But this is Now Entering the Ring, which means one thing. We have a special guest for you. You have seen this man on AEW. You've seen this man in OVW, MPX. You've seen this man on VIP Proving Grounds. You've seen this man attached to SOAR, and you've seen this man attached to NAW. This is the man, the myth, the legend, the man who's got more flips than Ricochet. Give it up for Xander Gold.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Oh, man, I'm just thankful that you
Quite
are.
an introduction. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I forgot to mention that we do like these big ass intros like before we get started. So
But also WCWA. That's a big one. That's one of my home promotions here. So
right. I did. I was taking notes and I was like writing down all the promotions as I could, and I was like, I know I'm gonna miss a whole bunch.
there's quite a bit. I've actually slimmed down some, but they're starting to pick back up now. So COVID kind of killed everything. Like, yeah, it was shitty. I was on a hot roll there for a minute. Started to pick up, and then freight train just came in and knocked me down. So that's life, though.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like a lot of people tell me too. They're like, "Man, you picked the perfect time to start your career." I'm like, "Really?" Because it doesn't feel that way. I feel like
When we got everyone's sitting at home.
yeah.
So it's the perfect time to like focus on training, and then with this podcast, focus on you guys. You have guys with more time now because there's less bookings available now. So
And it's definitely been helpful. I mean, we were talking about it. Like we've done a lot, and it's I'm grateful for it. I'm not gonna lie. So it's definitely helped a lot. But let's get into like you, man. We ain't gonna talk about this podcast. We talk about this podcast every Sunday in an argumentative state. It happens all the time. So anyway, I want to know, man, who is Xander Gold?
Xander Gold. Xander Gold is a kid that always dreamed of being a professional wrestler and was blessed with the opportunities in life to fight through struggles and make it a reality. Later than expected, I started wrestling when I was 25, rather than being able to do it when I was like, 16, 17, 18, which I would have preferred. But back then I was only like 5 foot tall, 98 pounds, so I was a little bitty guy. So I always made a promise to myself that I would focus on giving myself something to offer the business before ever trying to get into the business. And that was me working out for 8 years as hard as I could to put on as much mass as I could. Luckily, I hit a little bit of a growth spurt. I'm not like gigantically tall, but now I'm not 5 foot tall. So it's a big jump there. So I don't know. I'm just a young, humble kid that just loves every day and just kind of keeps moving forward, always pushing to try to better myself every single day in some sort of way. So
That's awesome, man. That's like the best way to live life. Like I just know, like for me, like coming from like the military world, like just enjoy the ride. Sometimes like it's gonna get bumpy, but man, overall, like it's gonna get what you put into it. So
exactly, it's what you make it.
100%.
Every situation. Yeah, you can throw a pity party for yourself, or you can do something about it. I mean, there's that two types of people, and then you're going to be one or the other. So there's usually hardly any on the fence. It's always one or the other on that.
It's very true. It's very true. So for you, man, like pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, what's been like one of the hardest things for you as a pro wrestler?
Just gathering connections for new states, really kind of like trying to branch out more, has been tricky. There's a lot of places I'd like to wrestle, but there's a lot of companies I don't even know what companies are in each state kind of thing. And then just trying to figure out who to reach, where to send my stuff, how to get them to respond back. on stuff, just typical indie wrestlers trying to make a name for themselves. Also, you find companies that you want to try to work for, but then they don't want to pay your fee. Because I value what I can do and what I can bring to a company. So I don't devalue myself by charging a certain amount. I always make sure I get what I'm worth, at least covering my fees for travel. And then also still being able to bring some money home, because eventually I want to be able to do that for a living and make a living doing it and not have to, do something else. And it's really hard to do in the indies. It really is, even if you're consistently working every weekend. I mean, but if you're making just enough to get by, pay your gas and stuff like that, maybe your hotel, I mean, you're basically wrestling for free at that sense. So it gets a little tricky to get bookings in that sense, but that's been probably the toughest thing, is to not devalue myself just to try to get a booking. So I try to have quality over quantity, and that's tend to work out for me thus far. So
Yeah, no, that's good advice too. Like to always like make sure you're holding yourself at a standard and that you don't underrate that standard. So yeah, you're on the right path, man, for saying something like that. That's awesome.
So, and also and for some people might not know me as Xander. So before Xander Gold happened, it was actually the standard. Dusty Gold is what I used to go by for the last 5 years. I had the opportunity on AEW. I couldn't use Dusty, so to make it easier, and then you get a lot. The networking there was amazing. Being able to meet so many new people and kind of gather those new friendships and stuff like that, which is it eventually helps. It's all about who you know. But I wasn't able to do that, so I had to come up with a name. Came up with Xander. So I've kind of just built off that since. I changed it on all platforms, and that way there's no confusion. So when people saw me in AEW, they tried looking up Xander, and then there was nothing but the AEW. There was more stuff available, so it was time for a change too. It's been 5 years as Dusty, so yeah.
No, I mean that's cool though. You understand, like, hey, the time's got to change. I'm going to change with them and just keep it moving. So that's
If you don't, you're gonna get left behind. I mean, you gotta change with the times or get left behind. People should always, if your character feels stale and you're not getting any bookings, stuff like that, it's time to mix it up. You got to change something, because obviously what you're doing isn't working.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, great points there, man. I love hearing this. So my other favorite questions I ask, every wrestler has one of these things, but I just kind of want to know your favorite thing. So what has been your favorite fan interaction?
Oh man, I love the kids. I mean, the kids are my favorite fans, but like, my favorite fan reaction, man. I have had one. It was actually the first company I worked for. Her name is Emma. She's just such a sweetheart. It's funny because it's a small town, but I had my own Christmas float as Dusty, and she was the Mrs. Claus for it, and I was supposed to be Santa Claus, and all the kids of the town were like the trees and stuff like that. So that was probably one of my favorite moments of just being able to be who I am and to inspire those little kids and stuff. So, and hopefully they'll do what I do, and push through and eventually make what they want to do, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be wrestling, but hopefully I inspire people to just want to do what they want to do, follow their dreams in a sense. So
That's awesome though. And it's cool that you were like, inspiring kids. That's important too, man. Like, it's the one thing I feel like I hear consistently is that, like, you're always wanting to give back to the future generation to help build them to be where they want to go. And I feel like, it's crazy to meet so many positive people like in the business that are all about that life. And I'm like, I feel like me falling into here and then knowing, like, I've always wanted to be like a wrestler as well, kind of like how you were saying, but like knowing that you can touch like so many people's lives for the positive, like that's such a big influence for me, and like wanting to like do more while I'm here.
When you said you're 36, right? So think of DDP, right? He
Yeah.
started when he was 40. So, and he's still a well-known name to this day. So, um, it's not necessarily never too late. I mean, do you want to live your life and then eventually, get on your deathbed and have all these what ifs and like wishes you could have, or do you want to be that person that did it? And even if you don't make it as far as you wanted to, but you consistently get closer and closer to getting it, and you knew you tried your best, I mean, that in itself is going to be better for your morale as you're on your deathbed or ready to go, because you live one life. You got to live it to the fullest of what you want to do. Each dream is yours. It's not somebody else's. So a lot of people give up on wrestling. Was a saying where like there's a lot of closet wrestling fans. It's kind of gotten less like that. So like they're like, yeah, I'm a wrestling fan, blah, blah, blah. Around people who like wrestling. If someone else mentions wrestling, they'll bring it up. Or but if someone else is around, they're like, oh yeah, don't talk about wrestling, man. Don't talk about wrestling. Kids like wrestling. Yeah, okay. And you could be that person, or you can actually try to do it and see what happens. I mean, it's better to try than not try at all.
Yeah.
And the only people that won't ever achieve it are the people that just fail and then give up. I mean, you just got to stay consistent with everything. Doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. So.
No, I mean it's so funny. It's so funny to hear you say it like that, right? Because I'll even share like a story with you. This is kind of fun story for me. But I have a bunch of friends and we all play Call of Duty like at night, right? And one of my friends was like, "Hey man, so like he was asking about the podcast. How's that wrestling podcast coming along? I bet like you probably are getting like 1 or 2 listens like a day or an episode." And I was like, "Well, actually, it's between like 40 to 50, depending on like who comes on the show." I was like, but it's funny you're gonna talk about my show like that. And he was just like, well, it's not like I mean like a negative. I was like, you're a wrestling fan. How are you talking about it? I was like, do you listen to the show? He's like, well, I listened to a couple episodes here and there. I was like, whatever, man. I was like, you're right. There's so many closet wrestling fans that they don't want to come out and admit that they're wrestling fans. I'm just like, man, you can talk about it with me all day. Like, I don't care. I love it.
I mean, I've always been open about it. I've never hid that I was a big wrestling fan. I've always told everyone that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And they laughed at me, but now look at me, So, like, joke's on them. What are they doing with their lives? You know what I'm saying? So, like, if they're doing what they love, great. That's cool for them. But, they talk trash about me, but I accomplished what I wanted to do so far and continue to set new goals and keep going, so.
Yeah, I think I get it real for like a bunch of my friends from back home because like even in high school, like that's all I talked about was like pro wrestling and like I was that kid that was watching Monday Night Raw. I was that kid watching Sunday Night Heat, Velocity. Like I was watching all those shows and the WCW wars, right? Like I was watching everything. And like people used to make fun of me like after like they said everything died off. I'm like, whatever, man, I'm gonna keep watching. And I just kept at it. I love wrestling and I love watching it and talking about it and it was fun like watching my friends because like all of a sudden like they see like I mean like I have a t-shirt and they're all like, oh my god, like this is you're really doing this. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I really am chasing my goals. Like this is what I want to do. I was like, I did everything that everybody asked me to do in life. And I think that was the one thing, like, and you probably could attest to this too. Uh, but like everybody had something else for me that they wanted me to do. And like, so I've done everything that everybody else has asked me to do, right? Like my parents were like, we want you to go to college and graduate. I'm like, cool, did that. I don't want to do that. Friends were all like, we want you to do this. All right, cool, did that. And I'm done. I was like, I'm gonna start doing things for me. Like I need to start doing things for me.
I did that early. I learned that early. My parents, when I told my mom when I wanted to be a professional, she goes, well, maybe you should get a more realistic job. And I said, what is not realistic about wrestling? And she's like, there's like a 1 in 10%, like a 1 in like 1,000% chance or whatever that you could actually make it, especially where I was from, dirt poor in a trailer house. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna be that 1% then. Lucky me, I was like, I'm going to make myself the 1%. I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh, well, okay, you're right. You know what? You know my dream. You know what it's going to take to be it. You know what I have inside of me that I can make it happen. You know all that, right? So I guess I could just fall in line and do whatever else tells me to do, or I can continue to stay outside the box, tell you to go over there, sit down, shut up, and let me do what I do because it's my dream, and I'm going to set the goals, and then I'm going to make that shit happen. So, and that's what I did. So,
Yep.
I'm
And
not saying anything about it now, So,
well, I know, like, even like for my dad, right? Like, because I wrestled in college as well, and crazy enough, actually, one of my really good friends, we wrestled at the same college. He's in the professional business as well. Like, he's a pro wrestler too, and
the
it was just
best
funny.
wrestlers,
What's that?
amateur wrestlers are some of the best wrestlers. I'm one myself. So,
Hey, shout outs. What college?
I didn't go to college. I
Oh,
only
you
went to high
didn't?
school.
Okay.
So I did high school, and but I did do amateur wrestling, and then my senior year, because I was so small, and I wanted to do this, I stopped,
Hmm.
and I focused on weight training and to
Okay.
getting my body to where I wanted it to be beforehand. So, um, yeah, I but I'm thankful that I had that opportunity to do in high school because it helped so much when starting off with chain wrestling and everything, and just like the way you had to think. Because I also did a little bit of mixed martial arts right out of high school because they didn't have a wrestling school where I'm at now. Back whenever I was trying to get into one, and so the first thing I did at 19 is I went and did mixed martial arts to learn grappling and kickboxing and stuff like that. So that really helped me transition from wrestling into that was really easy. Other than not like the staying on your back thing was the only thing tricky for that. But it also helped me think 3 moves ahead, which is what I train my students. We do shoot wrestling. We get back to back. You can only get up on one knee, and we actually have to try to tap each other out.
Hmm.
No punches, but just grappling, and you can't get up on your feet. So it teaches them to think. So if you're in a hole, you have to think, well, if he's got this, what can I go for next? And when I get in there, I'm already 3 moves ahead. So I let them do whatever they want. I'll kind of like just play with them a little bit. And then whenever they get into my guard or whatever, then I'll start to work with something and see how long they're going to focus on that so I can switch to the other thing I'm working on. So like I'm working different holds at the same time. And I try to tell them that it's like, so if you ever fuck up in a match, you need to be thinking 3 moves ahead. Well, what I got to recover. Think fast. What's next? And you can recover a lot better if you think on your feet like that. So I got that one into a long rant. Sorry.
No, that's great advice though, man. Like that said, like that is something that like I'm learning too, like and it's kind of still picking back up. Like the one thing about amateur wrestling that makes it so great though is that we're like you always have like a good base. Like if you're an amateur wrestler, you always have this good base for like everything and you're like you said, you're kind of rolling with the punches. That's like something that like even and peel back even more of the curtain, right? So behind the scenes, doing a practice match, like I was talking to a person and it was the first time I was calling a match. And so like I was working with him. We were talking about how we're gonna move things, and then like he forgot a spot, and so we missed. And so like the first couple times, it has been crazy. So the first couple times that we ran practice matches, like I got frustrated because like I didn't want to embarrass like the person that was trying to work with me. I didn't want to embarrass them. I was trying to do everything perfect, and so finally like my
Nothing's
trainer
gonna be
had
perfect.
yeah, and that's the one thing my trainer used to tell me all the time. He said it like the first time I met him. He was like, it's not if you get hurt, but it's when you get hurt. And so he came back to me. He was like, listen, it's not if you fuck up, it's when you fuck up. He's like, you will mess up. He's like, I promise you. So once he said that to me, and even like this was like just recently, I woke up and I was like, all right, bet. So we messed up a spot, and he hit the ropes, and as he came back, I just lowered my shoulder into him, picked him up, and slammed him down, and then jumped on top. And then we were working a hold, and I was like, all right, we gotta like, all right, this is where we're gonna go. This we gotta move next. All right, so let's get to moving. And then like everything kind of worked back out. But I was like at that initial point, I was like, oh, I'm so glad that that was something that was told to me because I would have been like,
That's the old school way too. Is if you forget something, grab a hold, right? So that's an old school thing that you train people. And it's knowing that is what's gonna help you. I've had tons of guys like miss something, fuck up. I immediately go grab a hold of some sort and work up to figure out where we're at. And I forget spots all the time because guys call like 20,000 a million spots, and I'm like, okay, bro, I'm not gonna remember jack shit of that when we get out there. So, cool. I'm a very simple, like, keep me that old school cut, shine, heat, small hope spot, more heat, small hope spot, more heat, maybe a double down, maybe not, maybe go straight to a comeback, and then go into the go home finish. Like, basic. What you fucking do through the heat, I don't give a shit. Just tell me out there. I don't need to know in the back. Like, I don't want you to walk down unless it's like a very difficult thing I need to take a certain way. I'm like, just tell me out there. I'm like, this is a couple moves. This is what I'll do from a hope spot. This, that. At some point, I'll just say at some point, throw me to the ropes, go for hip toss, and I'll do the rest. Something simple like that. So, like, some guys tend to overcomplicate it, and that's when they get lost, and then they stare at each other like two deers in headlights, just looking at each other. Oh shit, we're both lost. What do we do now? Instead of going, okay, that fucked up. Let's go into something else. All right, now you lost. All right, let's go. Come on.
It is so crazy. Like, I know a couple of my friends too. They're telling me, they're like, dude, sometimes we just get into a wrestle just to have a conversation. Like, we may not even be lost, but
Talking about the girl in the front row.
yeah, exactly. That's what they're saying. They're like, yeah, I just want to talk about that person. So I'm like, all right, bet. So it's fun to know, but it's something I always think about too. It's like, all right, man, like, things are gonna happen. You gotta be okay with it. But it's funny listening to you talk about it, because like that's what I was telling my friends, was like, yo, like, just keep things simple for me. Like, don't complicate it. Don't put out, just, we can literally talk about it while we're out there in the ring. Just don't overload. Because sometimes, like you said, guys want to call like 20 spots. I'm like, I'm gonna give up after 5. Like, I'm just not gonna worry about it.
Well, everyone expects to put on these like epic matches of all these different spots, and they're going so fast, and like a lot of people can't even register half of the shit that they're doing. So like they're doing all of it for nothing because they're not going to remember anything until you have a moment. The reason why my big moves, my high flying moves that I do, which isn't very many, but everyone thinks I'm a super high flyer, but I only do a couple moves that are actually high flying. It's my springboard line salt, and then on my new slingshot line salt, and then that top row back flip. That's really it. But because where I place them in the match, they mean the most, so they're so big and impactful, everyone's impressed when it happens. So it told the story leading up to it, and it meant something when I did it, instead of it. If you do all these flippy floppy stuff all the entire match, then when you do your big moves, if you don't get a reaction, there's a reason for that. Crowd had no reason to react because you did all this other shit before it that was, should have been the one that ended the match. So you got to listen to your crowds too. That's where a lot of guys are messing up on like things. There's certain crowds they love that shit. They're all about that, like 90,000 different moves, whatever. To certain crowds. But then you also have some old school crowds that don't want that. So you got to be able to call stuff in the back, go out there in the ring, and you may flip the script completely out there based off what the crowd's reacting. So that way you can actually give them what they're there paying for to see you. I mean, yeah, you can go out there and go, I want to get my shit in, but really it's not about getting your shit in. It's about giving them what they paid for. They paid for a good show. It's not about going over. It's about getting over. You can get yourself over and not actually win the match if you do it right, and you guys aren't doing 1,000 different moves that don't mean anything. So it's all about placing everything right. I feel like I have an old school mindset on all my shit that I do, but I still have like a new school. I understand the new school and why they want to do some of the stuff, and I'll place certain ththings in my matches that have that flash to it, but I try to make it mean something before. And I also don't blow my load all in one match too, because if you come back and you just did all those 1,000 things, and you come back to that second match, what are you gonna give now? You've already done everything.
Yeah.
So
I hear that a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, cool. If it's a one-off, you're never gonna face the guy ever again, or you're never gonna face him in that town again. Cool, blow your load. Cool, whatever. Then it's okay. I would still try to save it, because like, you're going to shock people if you don't do the same stuff in every single match too. I always change it up. I have like 3 different comebacks. That way it's not always the same shit every single time.
Oh, that's good. I like that, actually.
Yeah. You never, because if you give them the same stuff every single time, you become predictable. Cena, right? 5 moves of doom. You knew exactly what he was going to do and when he was going to do it in every single match. You know, not that it didn't make him, millions of dollars or anything, but like,
Yeah, it's always been weird to me that like as many times as he faced the Miz, like the every time the 5 moves of doom was what got Miz. I'm like, you guys wrestled like hundreds of times, and like not once did you just be like, nope.
right. Well, and that's how I am. So if I face someone more than once, the second time I go, okay, well, we know each other, right? So let's tell the crowd that we know each other. So you're going to go for your certain moves that you always go for, and I'm going to reverse it, or I'm going to catch it, and you're going to do the same thing to me. So that way it's like ping pong, and then when we finally hit it, boom, that's the story it's telling. We're trying to hit this certain move because you know it's going to end it, but they know it's coming. So it's just all about that storytelling, which is what a lot of wrestling's lacking is storytelling. So, yeah,
No,
I love story. I love wrestling. I've been a fan for my entire life, so I'm very passionate about it, and I love going out there and delivering what I'm supposed to deliver to the fans.
So I would ask you like, what do you think is missing from pro wrestling? But obviously, it's storytelling. That's
Oh yeah, storytelling and saving moves. Like, don't kill a move. It like make moves mean something because right now a lot of the indies they don't mean anything. There's 1,000 super kicks. Everyone's doing a cutter in different variations. Everyone's doing a spear. Everyone's doing freaking Canadian destroyers, power bombs. All these big moves that used to end matches are like just used to do nothing, basically. Just to feed into a match. Like, why? Why? There's no point. I don't believe in that. That's not me.
no.
If you watch any of my matches, if I hit something and it's a big move, they either hit their foot on the rope for a kick out, or it's like because we faced each other before and it's just like that's just that one move that no one's kicked out of and he just happened at that one time kick out of it to lead to the finish. So
No, it's funny because like I know a friend of mine, we we did a match, we were running one back, and like he was like, all right, man, this is what we're gonna do. We hit this move, we hit this move, and we hit this move, and then you're gonna win on a roll up. And I was like,
yeah, see
well,
what?
you're the vet, you're the vet, and I'm just gonna roll with you because you're the vet. And I was like, all right.
That's what I don't get. Because yeah, you'll hit all these thousands of moves in a match, and you'll kick out of those, and you get beat by a roll up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like what? That makes no sense. Like I just don't understand. That's the finish of a handbasket right there for guys that throw every awesome move that should be ending a match in there.
Yep. And I was like, and even afterwards, like a bunch of guys came back to me. They're like, look, man, that match should have ended like 3 moves ago. And I'm like, I know. I was like, I'm just here. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, but yeah, man, it was fun, but it was definitely like it was eye opening to like hear that spot, and then I was like, I know this is gonna look really bad on both of us, but it's like I'll just ride with it. I was like, I'm in my first year, I could just be like, yo, I'm a rook. I don't know. Like, but one of my questions I really do want to ask you is like, what advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers?
Learn to sell but not oversell. And the art of wrestling is selling. Right? Look at Shawn Michaels. He's probably one of the best sellers of all time. And I would say if you're coming in and you're having your first few matches and you're so excited and you want to do all this flippy stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. And also, yeah, I guess this would be the biggest advice. Don't do a move in a match that you've never done before. That someone's going to get hurt or it's going to look like shit because you don't know how to properly take it because you haven't tried taking it before the actual match, before the crowd. On top of that, when someone, even if they're a veteran, okay, and they want you to take a move, if you don't know how to take it, don't be afraid to say, hey, I don't know how to take that move. Ask maybe if they walk you through it, maybe. But don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm not comfortable taking that move. If it's a really big move and you're afraid it's going to hurt your career, you're on the independent scene, you're getting a hot dog and a damn handshake. I don't want to break my neck for a hot dog and a handshake, okay? I got bills to pay. I would say, I don't care how long the other guy has been in the business. If you aren't comfortable taking a move, you have to tell them. Most of the time, they're going to be okay with it because it's a safety issue anyways. If they properly care about taking care of you like they should, but okay, well, let's do, what are you comfortable taking? Something simple, we can figure out a way around it. Also, like telling them what you're not able to do can help, especially someone who knows what they're doing, can work around that and still make you look like $1 million and make themselves look like $1 million still. If they properly know what you can do. If you go, oh, yeah, I can take that. I usually will go, and they go, yeah, I think I can take that. I'm like, all right, we're not doing that. Let's cut that out. That's what I always do. If I ask someone to take something and they go, yeah, I think I can take that. I was like, oh, you think? Yeah, we're not going to do that. Let's cut that. We're going to go into this. How about that? It's like, I don't risk it. No. Safety first, and for their own good. Like,
I love it though. I had a friend of mine. He's in the tag team, and he'll talk to guys, and they'll call this like ridiculous match, and he's like, "All right, bet, man. So I want you to try to do this with me." And he always does El Generico's arm drag, right? Like his combination that he does. He's like, if they can't do it, basic match is what you get. Like that's what they do. So it'll be like, oh yeah, because guys will be like, oh, we'll come in, we'll do this backflip, we'll hit like a super kick. He's like, all right, cool, we can do all that if you can do this. He's like, if they don't pass that test, he's like, nope. All right, so we're just gonna do a super kick. That's all you get for that.
I mean, and that's less is more. It really is. In wrestling, less is more. Everyone thinks they have to do everything in every match, and you don't. I mean, less is really more in this business. So I mean, you're gonna grow a fan base. I work like an old school guy in a sense. I have some newer stuff, but like my brain wise, I do mostly new old school stuff in a sense where it makes sense. So, and if I do something that doesn't make sense, and someone tells me, "Well, why would you do that?" and it doesn't make sense, I sit back and I'll think about it. And then if it doesn't make sense to me and I can't explain it to them, then I won't do it. Because they made a valid point that my move didn't make sense. So I try to make it make sense. Like a lot of guys grab the feet, throw them in, right, where they sit on the ropes. And I do that too for my Miz line. And then Matt Sydal told me, he's like, why? Why would I throw both my feet up to you like that? I said, because everyone else does it, I guess. So I was like, okay, cool. Throw your one foot up to me. I throw it in. I follow in with a back elbow, leaving you in the corner where your foot's dangling over. Okay, roll out, throw your other foot, I catch it, throw it in, then come into it. Then it made more sense because it was like pieced together, getting me into that spot rather than just that simple move. And why would I stay there, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's all about. Think about what you're doing before you do it, in a sense, would be another thing I would say. So
That's all great advice, though, man. This is the kind of stuff that we get here, man. Like we get little seminars, and people get to check out this knowledge for free. It's crazy.
I mean, so it's funny to me because I'll wrestle guys, and they don't know how long I've been in the business. Okay, no, and then we'll get done, and they're like, "Man, how long you been in the business?" They're like, 10 years. I was like, nah, 5 years, bro. They go, what? Bro, you wrestle like you've been in there for 10. I'm like, I don't know. I just get it. I don't know. I mean, some people are quick studies. They learn quick. I've been watching it since I was, an infant child. It's like I was born to do it. So, I don't know. I did backyard as a kid, so.
I think we all did. Like,
yeah.
We don't talk about it. We all did, though.
Yeah, had the trampoline, mattress outside the trampoline, so you could do power bombs outside of the trampoline. Yeah, good shit.
Maybe you had that 15-foot shed outside your house. You did a backflip onto a trampoline.
Unfortunately, we weren't that rich. We didn't have shit. But honestly, my trampoline, this is funny because our trampoline lost a part, and we didn't have a part. So we literally shoved it into a tree and used the tree as a turnbuckle, and it's just that one tree there. And we had a branch we could jump up and grab, and then so we could drop elbows and stuff.
I've done
It's good
that.
stuff. We had the fake titles, the fake spinner and all that. And have title matches. And of course, you were like 5 different people when you were doing it. So you never had one character. So you learned how to do character development in itself because you had to have different guys to wrestle when you only had like 2 guys. So yeah, lots of names. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like you said, you were born for the business, man. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Well, man, those are all the questions I got for you, but we do have one segment left that we do have to do, right? So This is the 3 Count Podcast presents the 10 Count questions. These are world famous questions. Everybody knows these questions, and this is how we do. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions as quick as possible, so it's whatever the first thought that comes to your mind. So,
okay.
Yep, so I'm going to put the imaginary timer on the clock. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Troy.
Night Owl or Early Bird?
Early Bird. Night Owl. Really both. It's hard to say on that one. I'm a tweener there.
Good call on Troy, by the way. I was like, oh, okay.
My favorite of all time. Yeah.
Favorite color?
Green.
Pineapple and pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Hey. Favorite song?
Ooh, it depends on when it is and what genre. Right now it's Hollywood Undead, Heart of a Champion. Right now. It's a badass beat. Huh?
Favorite animal?
Tiger.
Hey, let's go. Favorite podcast?
3 Count.
That's what I'm talking about. See, we don't even have to tell anybody. Nominate one person to be on this podcast.
After me?
Yep.
I don't know. You should definitely try to get Mecha Wolf would be a good one. That's who I just faced last Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that one. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person that comes on this show, favorite curse word?
Fuck.
That's what I'm talking about. That's like the only word that's acceptable in this life.
It a lot. Even when it's not being it.
We were talking about it. There was another guest we were talking about it. It was like, you literally can use that word for every word in the sentence. It is amazing.
And different, like, the way you say it could mean different things.
Yeah, I love it. When you do like inquisitive, you're like, fuck?
Oh, yeah, you're like, what the fuck, right? Or you stub your toe, you're like, fuck, pain, right?
There's a video I've been talking about a lot, and I'm trying to bring it back on Resurgence, but it's called The History of the F Word. So if you ever get a chance to on YouTube, oh my God.
I think I've seen that. I want to say I've watched that before. It sounds familiar. So
that is it for the 10 count questions, man. So all I need from you now is just tell our listeners and our viewers where they can find you. All
right, on Instagram, you can find me at Xander_Gold 1990. On Twitter, the same, Xander Gold 1990. And on Facebook, you can find me at Xander Gold. And unfortunately, for all you kiddos, I don't have TikTok or Snapchat or any of those other crazy platforms. I'm old, and I don't do social media very well. So, but go give me a like and a follow, and I promise you'll like the content I have on Instagram and Facebook because that's where I post most of my stuff. So,
yeah, it's very true. I'm very much a fan too, so I've been watching a lot.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But that is it. This is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Into the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, here with Xander Gold because, he's entering our ring. And, yeah, guys, check out the next episode and be there or be somewhere else. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3countpod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.